Welcome to the Hansen Brothers podcast. I'm Timmy and joined by my brother Kevin. We are teammates and world champions in rallycross. This podcast is our space to catch up while traveling the motorsport world. We thought that we have been way too serious the last couple of episodes, and while we're waiting for more news, we thought let's do the top 6 crashes that we have done throughout our careers.
Time to get ridiculous.
Yeah.
It's not ridiculous. This is what people love. People love crashes. Like when you watch NASCAR, the thing you can't wait to see is a crash. So it's time that we open up about our embarrassing moments, isn't it?
Also, we couldn't agree on who had worse crashes, so we had to brotherly choose 3 each to slot in. The first crash on this list is me in Norway 2017 in the bottom corner in Q3. I was running third on track, if I'm not mistaken, and Petter was kind of drifting wide in the bottom hairpin, and I got the chance to get on the inside slightly, and I was hoping for something to happen up the hill. It wasn't really, a big gap, and the issue was that I wasn't far enough up on his door, so he didn't see me. So what happens is Petter comes from wide and just doesn't see me, aims for the optimum line, and you know how you really hug the wall there on the uphill. Then I had my nose in there, but he goes in to hug the wall. And then suddenly I run out of space very quickly. And I hit one of these concrete blocks. And the reason why this is a top 6 biggest crashes is because the concrete block folded. So one block fell and I kind of went straight on into the next one that's standing up. And I absolutely smashed the right side of the car, the right front, gearbox, engine, suspension, chassis. Everything was completely wrecked. And it happened out of nowhere. There was from being on track to being fully crashed was it within half a second or something.
And scary as a driver when you come in there and you're just like, okay, I'm getting a bit squeezed. You tried maybe to back out a little bit, but you got squeezed into the concrete barrier. You think maybe it's going to be a little, just a little collide, and maybe he's been in front and, you mess around. But going 120 kilometers, like 80 miles an hour, and then just being squeezed, and all of a sudden it's a full-on front hit at that speed that turns you around. It must have been like a huge shock as well.
Yeah. And to pull out the driver excuses book, I think we should do that for every crash.
Yeah, big time.
Why
big
it wasn't our fault, as it never is. This was obviously Petter's fault because he shouldn't check the mirror.
Hey, he should check the mirror and shouldn't come back like that on the track. He did a mistake. You were by his door. But that's a classic Petter Solberg, I would say.
Yeah, absolutely. Like I squeeze someone on the door. So that one wasn't our fault. We'll see later on in the episode how none of these crashes were actually our fault, which is interesting.
We just need to highlight, the situation and that it wasn't our fault for all this damage.
No. The funny thing is that we have actually never made a mistake, the two of us, like ever.
It's incredible. Yeah. And that's also why there's obviously some who didn't make the cut when we collided together. That's the most interesting one. We'll touch on that in the end, but when we're both in the crash together,
okay,
whose fault was it then? But I'm clear there. We
can
move forward.
Has made a mistake.
Yeah,
let's get to the crash. The only time we crash together.
Everyone knows who it is.
One person not mentioned has done a big mistake.
Episode. Yeah, in this episode, and currently not speaking, but we'll leave it at that. Moving on. Well done for crashing the car. Also, big shout out to the Hansen mechanics in that race because they got the car turned around for the next qualifying heat, keeping our streak of never missing a start in a rallycross race. So, to get everything in an hour and a half. Engine out, new suspension, new brakes. Luckily for you didn't damage the roll cage on that crash.
Yeah.
But they got it back on track and you went out in the next heat, which is just an incredible thing. And that's where rallycross mechanics are unbelievable because the time pressure that they need to work on and they get that sorted in that time. That's the people that's what we always go chasing for when we want to find great people to work on our cars, and that's their win. So
Now, if we want
big
to,
shout out to them.
yeah, if we want to mention mechanics, they have done so many miracles. But yeah, like for example, in Hockenheim, when my car was on fire, the whole electric loom was melted, the screen was melted. You know, the massive fire, and that was Q3, 1 hour turnaround to Q4, and you know, guess which mechanics put the car together somehow to be on the start line. Anyway,
Yeah.
let's move on to the
Anyway.
top 5 now. 5th on the list, biggest crashes.
Yeah, and here, unfortunately, it's mine. And
Yeah.
I think this one has been viewed a lot on YouTube. If people search my name, this is what they get up, and it's my crash in Belgium, which is quite nice.
No way.
And it's also known as the ball crusher, because I did come out of the car being quite sore in a certain place. But what happened in then? Everyone knows, or for you people that don't know about him, there's a back straight leading into a very quick chicane between two tire barriers, and I was chasing Thomas Heikkinen during this race. He was in the latest spec factory Audi. I was in a year-old Peugeot, and this is 2017. And I was chasing him for all the laps, and then I think it was on the final lap. I came into the chicane. I just brake a little bit late, and I know I've learned myself that in this type of chicane, you don't need to gain time on braking. You gain time in different ways. So it was my
this where
rookie
you learned that?
mistake. This is where I learned in a proper way. So I just came in and I pushed a little bit too late on the brake, and I got a lot of pitch forward, obviously, as I braked later. And I just lost the rear end entry, and I missed the line, and I couldn't save it. So I hit the barrier. I'm moving also. Everyone watching on YouTube
Yeah.
see me oversteering, and I hit the barrier, and that kicks me the other way. And from there, like the right side takes off, and I just start flipping. And
Well,
have
you say
you know
barrier, but you mean that
tire
big
stack.
curb,
Yeah,
right?
big curb tire stack. There was
Yeah.
a tire stack there at the time, proper one, and that pushed
Yeah.
me around the other side. And then I started flipping, and I think I did about 3 laps. And the last one, I had a big hit on the roof, and then I landed on my wheels. Got out, a lot of pain in a certain place.
Where were you? Where was the pain?
Le Bull.
You know, we've always had this discussion that Kevin, you know, the crutch belt, you know, the one that goes in between your legs. To tighten that, you never asked the mechanics to make it a bit tighter. You've always like twisted it around. So these two belts have been like a spiral. And I've said like, Kevin,
Yeah, it's not
if
good.
something happens, you know, the sacred area will be destroyed. Well, I guess you didn't come out with some long-term injuries after that.
Don't
one,
worry,
but
they're functioning.
they're functioning.
So if everyone can take a deep breath. Moving on, that was a bad crash, but that in that way, for example, my mechanics could have fixed the car, but I had a dent on the roll cage. I couldn't continue the weekend. But that was I think my most, let's say, spectacular one. The other 2 ones I have on this list is quite different, but they're not as spectacular.
What
Especially
I'm mostly
the last
interested
one.
about is your excuse for that one. That sounds tricky to.
Excuse.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Why?
but this is clear. A car oversteer, so it's a setup issue, engineer fault. So
Obviously.
yeah,
Yeah. This should have
big time.
never happened. You should
Those
be able to
engineers.
brake later than anyone has ever done before there.
Yeah,
It's just,
you have to push the limits, and then
yeah.
the car didn't comply.
No,
So
absolutely.
yeah, terrible,
Absolutely. I
terrible.
fully agree.
Moving on to the fourth one on the list here, or let's say third in our order here.
Yeah.
This is my favorite, but not the crash itself. The aftermath. Tell me what happened.
Yeah, so we are in Höljes now, and this one Kevin argued so hard to get on his list. And it's not the worst crash, maybe, but okay. We're in Höljes, 2018. I am running 3rd place. I was actually running 2nd place, but when the 2 Audis, Backerud and Ekstrom, when they took the Joker, they came out just behind me, and then Backerud like pushed me wide in the velodrome to get underneath me, and like I thought like that's extremely unfair, but I battle my way back into the line. I brake early because just two corners to go, and you can't dive into that corner, I thought. But Matthias attempted to go for the lunge down the hill in Höljes.
The lunge of the century.
The lunge of the century. And tap my front wheel, um, put the steering wheel out of my hands. And then I kind of just went into the gravel trap. So I went from second quite quickly down to DNF. I had the third place there. It was the last lap. But yeah, the aftermath is one of, I guess, my two rage moments.
And I actually haven't asked you how you got from the car to the situation.
So what happened is that I walk out the car. I am fuming on, having been pushed off, thinking of, obviously, again, this wasn't my fault. As we've already established, we have never done a mistake.
Clearly. Also knowing your history in Höljes together.
Exactly. So, tension had been building up for a couple of years between us. And I basically get the urge to punch him in the face. And and I walk into, the Park Fermeo, the kind of podium area, because he ended on the podium. And I kind of looked around, so there was no camera. And I grabbed him, on the chest in his suit, and I kind of held my other arm up. And someone
aggressively.
Very aggressively. I didn't
finish the job.
Him. I wasn't gonna, because
No, you didn't finish the job.
I didn't finish the job, no, but I did the entire setup. Someone did get this on camera though, so someone did get a picture of me trying to punch him in the face
with our mate Vince in the middle, trying to hold you both up with sunglasses. He loves that photo.
Yeah. So that was not my proudest moment. Maybe we have already been through this. That I kind of rage every 5 years or so. So I guess this was my first rage. Second rage being with Baby in Norway 2 years ago now, when I smashed his bonnet. That didn't get on the list, but I guess honorable mention to another crash.
I remember that just as we were speaking here, like the two blue lights you had in 2023. One where you tried to overtake me in Portugal, spun around, got hit, blue light, have to rebuild the battery. Weekend later, Norway, same thing again. You had a contract with Baby, and then you got furious, blue light. Some things didn't make the cut, but let us know so far if you think we have had the right choices in the list. But this is why I really wanted that one on the list, because it's such an iconic moment with that punching photo. Everyone can go and search Timmy Hansen, Matthias Ekström Höljes, and you will see the launch.
Yeah, me launching my fist. I didn't actually touch him, but all right. And the excuses for that, it was obviously his fault. So not my mistake.
That's a very good excuse from you there. It was obviously his fault.
Obviously, yeah. You can see that from miles. Even his fans and himself and everybody in the whole world said, like, no, this is Matthias Ekström's fault, because Timmy Hansen, he don't do mistakes. That's for sure. All right. Moving up.
Top 3.
We have top 3, yeah. Third on the list. Kevin Hansen. Big crash in Germany between the Armco barriers. You had a massive one, didn't you?
This was a big one. This is a really painful one, and I ended up in hospital after this one for 2 nights, I believe. It was Germany, final 2018. I've had a really good run on this track for 3 years straight. Really good speed. That track for me, we just flow together. And I was really competitive. I was chasing my first podium, and I was following Backerud just in front in the focus, and it's a long car. I was really close. I was getting closer and closer. I think we're on lap 3, and when you're that close and you can't really see much in front of you, because the car in front is so close, and you don't get much view forward.
Yeah, I think this is something that you don't understand unless you have like really been in the race seat, in the seat and steering the wheel. But when you're extremely close, when you see on TV, like, oh, he's right, all over the person ahead, what you actually see through the windscreen is a massive old rear wing and the tailgate. And you can't look at your brake point. You don't you see, on the sides, but you see your vision is extremely limited once you're at this spot.
It is, yeah. And then also, sure, that's fine if, you have space on the side to, take a little bit more curb. You cut a little bit, you take a bit more curb, it unsettles you. It's not the end of the world. Germany, it's so narrow. You need to push the limits to the maximum, close to the Armco's everywhere around. And on this track, the Armco is not on its own. It's supported fully by a bank of what do you call it? Mud, gravel. It's
Dirt
just a
bank, behind
dirt
it.
bank. After the hairpin in the bottom, and it's a quick left and top right chicane. Again, a chicane on my chicane to me apparently are not flowing. And I just
It's the
came in
chicane's
behind
fault.
him. It's the chicane's fault on this one,
Yeah.
everyone. And I just came in and just a little bit too tight, and I touched the inside, and I just set. I can't remember because I lost a bit of memory like from it, but I think I hit and my steering wheel must have gone out, or the front toe or front steering arm broke, and I just gone straightly directly out in the outside wall. And from the hit, and I see, I see the barrier. This part I remember, and I just go like 110 kilometers an hour straight towards the bank, and when you hit that straight front on, it didn't spin me around or anything. It just went, all the energy went in and straight back, was like hitting it front on. And I just remember hanging in the belts. And that's the only time I've experienced how strong the belts need to be, because, the over, I think it was 60G impact or something. That was a huge one. That bent the chassis all the way to behind the rear axle. So the tailgate was bent. So the chassis was completely written off. And I remember I was there.
It's like a pig's nose, how it's like
just pushed in.
Yeah.
And I got out to the car into safety, jumped on the bank, and then when I lied there, I just couldn't start moving. So was after they said I had a proper concussion from that. Yeah, that was probably my biggest one, both like physically and technically. Like it really wrote off the car. I think in the end, I think they fixed it. Went back to the chassis company, they put it all back together, straightened it out, but for the season
they
that
just
was
pull the pig's nose back out, like,
just like
straight.
to Pinocchio again.
Yeah.
So that was a huge one, and I think that is I think one of it's not that is my biggest crash but not the one that takes the top spot on the list for me. But
and
not
I
a good
would
one.
say, if I could do the excuse for you, Backerud in front also had an incredible run through this race, and he was extremely fast, and he kind of really nailed that chicane coming out the bottom hairpin, and he was as close, like almost touching it himself, with the bumper. And then when you're chasing, you always try and catch a little bit, so you go a little bit closer than him, but he was already fully close. So when the front wheel touched like that, then it kind of redirects the car. There is no space there. So that one's obviously Backerud's fault.
Yeah, he was, in the end of the day, he was too slow and I was too close to him. So yeah.
Yeah. So that's also clear.
Yeah. This next one, number 2 on I don't know why it's this might be number 1, but we'll put it as number 2. But this is,
I think the number 1 has its definite reason why this is a number 1 crash, but
yeah.
Now we're number 2 on the list.
This is your number 1, but number 2 on the list.
Yeah. Opening the season 2019 in Abu Dhabi. Legendary crash between me and Andreas Backerud, where he kind of, looking from the outside, it looks like he tried to murder me, but actually he had a very good reason for this. It's a real, strange track layout. So the story behind it is that he miscalculates the lap, because he thinks that he took the Joker on lap 2, I took the Joker on lap 3 in a 4-lap race. And then, usually you just, the leader takes it on the last lap and the following one second to last. That's how it goes normally. So he kind of, thinks that this is the last lap. And what you have to do to get a good time in the last lap in Abu Dhabi is to absolutely ignore the braking point of the last corner. So he does that. He goes flat out, ignores the braking zone, and just tries to get to the finish line as soon as possible. But the problem was that, it wasn't the last lap. And, I brake to turn in, and he tries to get to the finish line quickly. But the offset there of me coming from the outside, turning in front of him from the Joker, and him being flat out chasing the finish line meant that he hit me in the driver door like so hard. I've never it was insane. And he hits me, I go flat out, as you do in the reaction to avoid spinning. The wheels were still in place, but the whole car is like a banana. And
Literally, like a banana.
and like I'm out of my seat belts, like I don't know what's going on. I have Dad on my radio, like, okay, keep it on, keep pushing. And I try to stay in front. I go super defensive, like maybe losing 5 seconds, but like Gronholm was behind, and he didn't actually manage to get past me before the finish line. So I did, finish ahead in this race. And then on the radio, I was like, oh my God, guys, the car's is big roll cage damage. And Dad, as a competitor he is, he says, oh, let's not show it too much, because maybe we can repair it and we can go on, because normally you can't repair this stuff. But, we are in the middle of a season, starting a season. But I'm looking at the car, the dashboard, the whole thing. The cross in the door has moved like half a meter, and
Yeah, it was
I'm just
unreal.
thinking like, I shouldn't even start explaining this.
No, it's no point. Just go in and have a look yourself, everyone.
Yeah,
And it even, this is the mental stuff, it even cracked your seat. So, the seat is mounted on two big bars in the floor on either side. And then the seat, and it's a full carbon seat. One of the nicest you can get. It was custom made, the from Peugeot. And it even pushed those solid bars in and cracked the seat. And you'd never want to get it checked, but you think you had a crack in your hip or something because you had pain for such a long time.
Yeah, so the thing is, he hit me in the driver door, and the X in the door, it snapped on the rear bottom attachment, so it didn't hold as much force as it should have. So it meant that his car came way further into my car than it should have. And under the seat, there are two bars that mounted like 90 degrees, like kind of side to side. And again, like your car in Germany, they were squished together like pig's nose. It's very hard to it's very easy to bend a tube if you push it from the side, but like pushing a tube together, like squashing it, it's a lot of force. And then the seat is mounted on that, so the
seat is full carbon, thick carbon fiber.
Yeah, got smashed. It was to the point where there was a hole in the floor, and I did have pain on my hip, and I don't know, I haven't ever got it in check, but of course I am in that seat that did get smashed. And thinking about like it's actually another car flat out, centimeters from my hip is kind of scary, but also
really scary.
Big thanks to like FIA and all the safety work and safety standards. But yeah, this crash was actually worse for Andreas, because he got the hit right front, which meant that the gearbox was absolutely right off. It was a much more expensive crash. And the people following Rallycross back in 19, they will know that we were right on the limit, all the teams, of surviving and carrying on in Rallycross. It was after the manufacturer era.
Your crash was probably 50,000 euros. It's not nothing.
Yeah, but the expensive parts in the car didn't actually get destroyed.
No, probably the most expensive was the seat, because that was full custom made and molded by Peugeot, and had to get Seb Loeb's seat instead or something, I think.
Yeah, but like I've spoken to Andreas. He came to me, in the evening of that, and explained what happened, and of course, he's forgiven.
Yeah. At least it was clearly his fault. So
yeah, it was his fault.
Imagine your biggest crashes and you didn't have one fault in them.
No. Even my whole career. I'm very known for being truthful, humble,
and calm,
and very calm and very handsome. Those are my that's how people know me.
Stronger part. Yeah. Well, as your brother,
mainly humble.
That's why you need me, because I humble you very, very well. So you're welcome.
So let's get to number one, the worst crash that the Hansen brothers have ever made.
This is a crash with 0 car damage. The car was absolutely fine, but it is the biggest, I think, personal one. It was Saudi in Extreme E 2022 in the JBXC car, and it was the race of, what did we used to call it? The crazy race, where we tried to qualify for the main race. And I was leading the race, came into this massive downhill in the end of the lap, and to go into the switch zone, you had to keep left on the side of the main finish. And I came into this massive downhill, and there is a compression in the bottom. And normally it's been fine. I've been taking the compression. I took a little bit more speed because I really want to give me a big gap for Molly to go out. But what I didn't know is that when I came down, I also hit the camel grass. And camel grass, everyone thinks, sure, it's just soft grass, but it's like a rock in the desert. And I hit that with my left front. And as in Extremely, we are sharing seats. And Molly and me got together for this race very late on. My seatbelt was massive around my hip. So really, I was only tightened from my shoulders and between my legs. So the side belts wasn't really tight because she had to get an insert to be able to fit and all of that. So when I hit this camel grass, it was a lot of front impact, and my hips moved forward, and that cracked my 8th vertebra. So I broke my back in that crash. And that is, I remember the sound, and I remember the pain. You know, in Riga, we have jumps and we have landed hard in rallycross, and it hurts a little bit. But directly, I heard the crack and I could feel the pain, and it was different from anything I'd ever experienced. And that was a broken back. And this is our number one, because obviously it's the only. Maybe you had a cracked hip, and that's just under this one, but it's the only one we've been physically, like, properly injured from racing. And it's also the week of the Wings for Life World Run, and this is exactly the reason why people should run the world run, because of spinal cord injuries. I was very lucky to avoid a spinal cord injury. It was just a cracked vertebra, and that's healed together with all the work I did with Rebo. But so many people have spine injuries, and they get a spinal cord injury and can't walk anymore. And that's why this week is so important, that we run for those who can't, to sign up, do your race, contribute to the research of finding a cure for spinal cord injuries, and make a change. So it kind of flows in perfectly for this week, obviously, but it really is the biggest accident, let's say, that we've had on the racetrack.
Yeah, and I think you're lucky enough to benefit from, the research that's already been done in the field of spinal cord. So if yours wasn't treated the right way, you might have been paralyzed from the waist down now. And this is where all the money goes to. If you enter the world run, every dollar goes directly to spinal cord injury. Red Bull is hosting the event and promoting the event, but they take all the spendings themselves, and the entire the entire entry fee goes to spinal cord research. And hopefully in the future it can lead to even more people being saved, and even, in the dream scenario, we can even heal people from who has already had spinal cord injury. That's the dream and the goal. But yeah, we're running on May 4th at 1:00 Central European time. It's a fun race. You should sign up, even if
If you're walking,
it's a good
if
cause,
you're
but also it's a
running,
fun race.
Yeah, it is, because you get on this app, or you join a location in your city, and everyone starts globally at the exact same time, and there is no finish line. You run as far as you can until there's a catcher car that catches you, and that's the end of the race. And
Yeah.
it is an unbelievable experience. I've seen it's already over 200,000 people that have signed up for the race this year, more than I think before, and that's just pre-race, and we still got the whole week. So obviously a big moment in my career, but I'm so thankful for the Wings for Life Foundation, that they push research in spinal cord injuries, and enable the world to be more aware of what to do to assist making sure everything would be okay. So big week. You're aiming for a great time as well, aren't you?
Yeah, I've been training for it. I've been looking forward to this race, and I kind of benchmark myself every year. I don't run too much in the rest of the year, so I have to panic train just running before this. But I have done now, so I feel in good shape. I ran this morning. But yeah, it should be fun. You should sign up too. Even if you just want to go for a walk on May 4th, you can listen in on kind of a radio through the app, or like join your regional race if you want to be together with people. It's a lot of different ways. But however you would choose to do it, it's very fun. Just download the app. You'll find the instructions. For the end of this episode, we should though confirm that one of us has done a mistake in our career. And this mistake happened in the final in Argentina 2016. And the reason why one of us has done it, and we haven't settled who in all these years, this is true. We haven't settled who.
This is a true issue. And it is my first race in World Rallycross, and I raced for a different team because it was my prize for winning the RX2 championship. And in Amsterdam, we were both in the final. And it was a carnage as always, and we end up, I take the Joker lap in the beginning, you take it a lap later, and there was so bad dust in this race, so they watered offline and just outside the main line to just try and keep something down, but it was so slippery because it was so fine dust, and when you have fine dust, it makes it very muddy.
It was worse than ice.
Yeah, it was crazy.
Robin Larsson has a funny story because he jokered the last lap, and his spotter told him, "It joker now, but it's very, 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 very slippery." and Robin going into the joker like, how slippery can this be? And he goes in slowest you can ever imagine, and still that's too fast.
Yeah, still he went up.
That's how slippery the wet was.
Here we get to the clear point of this discussion. And my case, because we have our only crash together in this race, our first race together, and we have our first crash together. And I was behind, and I was on the main line. Timmy, he goes off the line a little bit, takes this water and gets fully sideways, recovers, comes back into the racing line and where I was, and we crash, and he gets full damage, and I stop a little bit later with damage.
So
my case here is that if you didn't do a mistake, which is the point here, and run offline, we wouldn't have crashed.
No, yeah. I see the point.
Thanks everyone for this week.
I'll tell you the other side of the argument is that, so I was first on track, right? And just to give you the story of my race, I was up there fighting for the lead with Robin and decided to joker early. Obviously, I was the first one to discover that it's very slippery in the joker lap. So I went off like madness,
Full off
probably 100
track.
Meters off the track.
Yeah.
Anyway, so I rejoin. No, you would also, and then you joker the lap after or something. But I was thinking, or you joker lap one, I like two, and never mind. Somehow we're both jokered. We're following. You're just behind me, and I'm thinking that Petter ahead has already jokered. Yeah, so I must have jokered lap two. I thought that Petter had jokered, and he's so far ahead, so I got to catch him to get back into the race. But the thing was that he had just made a mistake and lost a bunch of time. But I didn't fully get that, during the race. So I was pushing like mad, and through this kind of hairpin-ish left on gravel, I kind of throw the car in even harder, trying to push more than what you've done. And the outside rear wheel gets into this watered area. And, I've already pushed it with more speed, and then the rear gets out of grip. So I'm full lock, I'm full throttle as you do in four-wheel drive, and I'm hanging on and praying for dear life. And the car is recovering. Very nice, very nice. Suddenly, who appears? Right in my door is Kevin Hansen going for the gap there. But I am full throttle, full lock already.
I was minding my own business on the curb, on the racing line. The curb.
You hit me on the side. And
it's strange because your left front was the damaged one, and my right front.
So my main argument is that I was leading, right? I was first.
You were ahead, yes.
I was ahead. You were behind. How can the person ahead? How can I hit you when I was ahead?
Argument.
This is my main argument. My main question.
You did a mistake and rejoined.
Okay, I think we'll
think
leave this up to the listeners.
yes, I think everybody let us know in the comments what you actually think whose fault, because we've now presented our both sides, and it's up to you to decide once and for all who actually has made one mistake in their career.
This is a
and
big
this is
responsibility we're putting on you.
Yeah, so please let us know in the comments. Would really appreciate you also, if you have a bank number, let me know. I'll send a few euros over. Anyway,
what did you say? I didn't hear that. What was
anyway,
that?
it's been a fun one. I enjoyed speaking about everyone's mistakes that caused us to crash. Jokes aside, disclaimer: we have done mistakes in our careers, but
disclaimer for legal reasons. Not to get sued.
No.
This was sarcasm. So
honestly, let us know who you think was at fault in that 2016 Argentina final. It would mean a lot to us if you actually sorted this for us. And next week, it's May and it's our birthday month, so let's go.